Hello everyone and welcome to another YouTube cast by myself, Wardy. We're going to be once again diving into that WESG replay pack, and I'm going to be casting another of the quarterfinals. It's the other quarterfinal which I didn't cast myself while casting the event live in Ukraine. And it's going to be a ZvZ between the blue Zerg in the top left hand side, Dark, and the red Zerg in the bottom right hand side, Serral. So a matchup from the quarterfinals, a best of 5, probably the first time I've ever cast a ZvZ in a YouTube exclusive, and I feel like there's a fairly good reason for that. I mean, let's face it, it's Serral to begin with, but also I feel like Serral and Dark in particular have had a real rivalry as of late, over the last year, I suppose. As much as a rivalry you can get between a Korean and a non-Korean player who only play each other, who only have a chance to play each other a couple of times a year. It kind of started up back in 2017, and back then in the IEM Katowice, Dark took Serral down 3-0, and Serral made a pretty good run into the quarterfinals. Obviously, in 2018, Serral became a bit of a god, and they met again in the 2018 GSL vs. the World, where Serral took him down 3-1, before then advancing to BlizzCon and taking Dark down 3-0 once more. So Serral has really kind of had the upper hand on Dark, and at the recent IEM Katowice in 2019, Dark said in an interview, "I want to play Serral. I want my revenge." It didn't happen. It didn't happen at Katowice. He didn't get a chance to show his, to get his revenge here. But maybe he will in this series as we jump into game number 1 of it. A free hatch before pool from Dark setting up means he gets to be a little bit greedy here, and Serral, not already being aggressive, is going to really struggle to find any way to punish this opening from Dark. So Dark's going to get away with this just a little bit, and that's going to be a fantastic little start from him. A good way to mix it up at the start of this ZvZ here on Port Alexander for game number 1. Now, of course, guys, if you do enjoy, if you do end up enjoying the commentary today and the video, do not forget to leave a like on the video. Do not forget to subscribe to the channel. We're doing these YouTube exclusives multiple times a week. And also, I really want to push the idea of you guys let me know which other series from WSG you'd like me to cast. I've had a couple of suggestions so far. A couple of people have asked for Maru versus Meal Micah. A couple of people have asked for actually the Maru Scarlet game number 1, the first 20 minutes that weren't shown on stream. Whoops. So yeah, if you guys have any other suggestions yourselves, then please do let me know. I'm super interested to see what you guys have to say and what you guys have, what you guys want to watch. Again, I'm casting these games for you, right? So if you guys in particular want to see certain players or stuff, it's always a good idea to let me know in the comments, because I always do read all of those, and I really do take them into account. I mean, I remember last time we casted Serral, everyone was like, "Oh my god, cast every Serral game ever, doesn't matter." And that kind of has been a tilting factor as to, the fact that I casted a ZvZ here, because I know a lot of people like ZvZ. I'm not watching a ZvZ. God, what do you take me for? I don't want to fall asleep while watching StarCraft. It's actually a pretty interesting view, because I really feel like ZvZ nowadays is super exciting. Even post the kind of explosive Ling Bane phase of the game, the kind of, Roach Ravager styles. I mean, Ravagers in general just mean that every single Roach fight has so much more micro involved. There's more decision making in terms of how many units you make, how many Ravagers you morph in, etc., etc. So, really interested. I'm intrigued that is still kind of a thing where people are like, man, ZvZ is so boring. Because so often we see ZvZ being the matchup which actually takes to multiple fronts, multi-pronged aggression, borrowed Roaches in every base. And Serral pulls away over to the right-hand side. Few Lings here early will not do much. Dark down a couple of drones, but with a big round of drones he will jump back into that lead. Obviously had his third base just a little bit faster, only just now finishing his Link speed, getting a few defensive Banelings up. And Serral is going to opt for a Evolution Chamber. So an Evolution Chamber coming down on the front of the Natural. And now some Zerglings of Dark going to continue running over to this right-hand side. A single Zergling going to take the charge a little bit. And you can see the Lings of Serral just continue to come and chase that down. Drones do manage to dodge away from those Lings for the moment, and Dark not really able to capitalize, as Serral creates a great opportunity to scout into the main. This is really useful, because being able to scout into the main base with a couple of Zerglings, it looks like Dark doesn't know these are here, so he could even morph these into Banes and run them into a mineral line. And in fact, I think that's just what he started to do. But it's really nice as well just to see, okay, well, what is in the main? What is in the Natural? Get a full read on that. Oh, 6 drones going down for Serral as Darklings still being aggressive. Now, those Banes on the other side from Serral are about to finish up. Let's see what they can do as they're going to move towards the mineral line any second now. Going to come in from the top side. Just trying to avoid the Queen a little bit. And here we go. Bane straight in there. And there's 6 drones Right back in your face, Dark, for the 6 drones that Serral lost just 15 seconds prior. Lings and Banes continue to come in. Oh, 2 Banes for 3, so a little bit of a better trade for Dark. His Lings continue to run around, but at the end of the day, I mean, Dark is still only on Ling Bane, and Serral is, I think, moving correctly up towards, you know, a Roach base force. Oh, that's painful, actually. A lot of drones getting hit by that Baneling. That means they're very easy targets if a couple of Lings sneak into that mineral line. Doesn't look like it's going to happen, but it is something that you have to be careful of. While one Baneling hit doesn't seem like the end of the world, sometimes it can make that big turn, you know, that big turnaround. You can see one Baneling here picked off by a Zergling. Another couple of Lings of Serral coming across, and he sees even more Lings of Dark, who is still refusing to actually go into any sort of Roach tech here. No +1 missile upgrade. I mean, the lair starts now, but I'm kind of feeling that this is more likely to be a Spire than anything else. We jump back over here to 8 drones going down. I mean, there you go. Those drones were low, and now they get punished for it as those Banelings connect. And suddenly Dark is absolutely killing it in the worker camp, by the way. 62 drones to 40. So Dark has established a huge economic lead here so far. And Serral, well, he's built the Roaches, although it's still adding on a couple drones as well. He doesn't have Roach speed because there's no lair. And so actually, Serral is going to struggle to do much aggressively with these Roaches, which is a bit of a shame only because of the fact that he's in a stage of the game where he kind of needs to do something because he is a bit behind with the damage that he's taken from the Ling Bane of Dark. So does need to try and sharpen up on that just a little bit here. A couple of Zerglings going to go running forwards into the natural expansion, but there's a Kreen already sitting at the front. 12 more Roaches from Dark on the way out. Zerglings hanging around in the center of the map. And there is a Spire from Dark now on the way up in the main base. So getting that Spire ready to go as a +1 missile attack coming through. The lair about to finish up from Serral. But yeah, definitely was expecting a Spire from Dark, right? Because at the end of the day, how do you go into no +1 missiles for so long if you were just planning to go Roaches? I mean, going into the +1 now still works out. I still kind of feel like he probably could have done it before as well and just had it there to utilize. Now he is still very far behind if he wants to switch back into Roaches, which he probably will want to do. Typically, if you build any amount of Roaches, you will then continue with Roaches after about 10 or so Mutalisks. And those Mutas can be very good at picking away at a couple of drones, distracting your opponent for a little bit, getting some damage done here and there. That kind of thing. As a few Zerglings jumping onto that hatchery in the bottom left-hand side. They're not going to be able to do much. Roaches were in position. Lings on the top side unable to do a lot as well, as we see these Roaches of Serral continue to gather up over on the right. So a lot of those Roaches gathered up together. A couple of Ravagers morphing on in. I mean, Serral will have a +2 missile attack upgrade to utilize in the Roach fights, but hey, I mean, what does that matter if there's going to be Mutalisks that Serral has absolutely no preparation for? Serral has no idea that Spire's coming up. He's not scoured the main base in a very long time, so he is in the dark. And he has seen a few Roaches here and there. I mean, I think the biggest sign would be if you click on these and they're still on 0-0, because at that point you're like, well, what on earth were you not starting +1 missiles for a long time? I think that might be the slight indicator that that could potentially be okay, actually. You know, maybe you didn't, weren't planning on going Roaches, or you're not thoroughly only going into Roaches. The thing is, though, Dark is just so far ahead in economy earlier in this game. He's now got 7 Mutas on the map and more Roaches than what Serral has. Okay, he's missing a few Ravagers here and there. I'm sure that's something you can catch up on, as we can see the Baneling speed starting up. So getting that Baneling speed going allows him to make a switch in towards Banelings, which, if Serral goes in towards Hydras to defend, Banelings become very, very effective. And in fact, Dark might just be looking to go for a Roach Bane Muta attack here, just to straight up end this game. And gotta say, you have to be worried for Serral, right? He was down 20 drones for a significant portion of this game. That hurts, that really sucks. And that really could be coming to bite him here, as we see these Mutas flying forwards. The Roaches, Queens, and Ravagers able to sit at the front for the moment. A lot of Banelings morphing in, so we're getting ready for that big push. He's definitely looking to try and be aggressive to some extent. His Mutas never really did a lot, but right now able to jump on one of the Ravagers already. It goes down below half health before hitting the transfuse. 35 Banelings in production. Dark is going to have so much firepower in this army. Banelings are very supply dense, so if you can max out on this many Banes, you're going to find so much value with them. And while the army supplies are dead even, and Serral has a +2 missile attack upgrade, I just don't see a way he fights this with so many Banes in the army. I mean, here we go. The Banes just now getting their Baneling speed finished. They are a little bit stuck behind the Roaches. Here we go, starting to move forward. See the Banes starting to crash in, and you can just see the splash damage that they're bringing out here. And it's just a huge difference that they're making. The Muta's picking off a lot of the queens, which have been brought low as well. The transfusions have not been enough. And Serral will turn Dark away, but he is still going to be hurting. Down 10 workers, down in army supply, not able to rebuild. And these Mutas have obviously picked off all the queens, so now they're able to have a pretty good time as well, continuing to move around. And I won't lie, I'm surprised Serral survived with so much. But yeah, I guess at the end, yeah, I actually kind of am. Resources loss is a little bit favorable to Serral. Maybe he was a bit too kind of eager to end the game by Dark. I guess the Banes going off on the queens on the right didn't help so much as if they got right into the center of the roaches. And there was a bit of a rough fight as well for a little while where the Banes were in the middle of the roaches too, and they weren't really effective right away. Maybe that has something to come into play as well. Anyways, right now Dark's going to take another fight though, and the reality is he's still traded well enough to be able to just take down this army of Serral with a follow-up attack once he has reinforced. He's got a couple of Ravagers of his own now. He's still got the Mutilants kind of diving around here and there, and Serral will type out the GG, and Dark will start to get his revenge, going up 1-0 in this best of 5. Is this the road to redemption for Dark against Serral after losing the last couple series he's played against him? Or is there going to be some kind of a turnaround? Well, the only way to find that out is to continue casting, and we'll go into game number 2 going to be taking place here on New Repugnancy. As to the top right-hand side, our red Zerg player is Serral from NC Sports and Finland. And to the bottom left-hand side, our blue Zerg, Dark from South Korea and the Gosu crew. It's game 2 of the ZvZ. Now, obviously, we talked last game about the free hatch before pool. There's a little bit of greed. Obviously, it doesn't do so well if certain aggressive attacks come in very early in the game because your gas is delayed, your pool is delayed. And obviously, in those situations, you're in a lot of trouble. But we're not going to see any sort of aggression right away this game. And it's the sort of thing where you do once as Dark and probably not a second time in the series. And Serral just saying, yeah, you know what? I'm just going to play the macro once again. I'm not really kind of intrigued in changing it up too much. Serral is one of these players that can definitely look at a game of StarCraft 2 and be like, okay, well in that game, this, and this went wrong. And to fix it, I'm going to do this and this in the next game. And he can just, completely kind of shut down, mistakes. And the reality is, in that last game, the mistakes were just the Ling Bane phase, right? He took too much damage. Dark was able to drone up way better than Serral was. And there was just that period of the game where there was like a 20 worker advantage. And of course, from there, sure, you build back up as Serral, but then Dark was able to get Mutas out, which, honestly, the Mutas didn't even do too much, which feels like they almost kind of, initially anyways, right? They didn't kill many Overlords, they didn't kill many drones. They were part of the fight, but it was a big investment for how much they brought to the fight. So that, in a way, maybe almost brought Serral back into it a little bit. So, yeah, almost bringing Serral back into it a little bit, obviously. Yeah, that's how far ahead Dark was. He could afford his Mutants just not to do anything, right, is what I'm trying to say. It's not something you can say every day of the week, because it's a big investment, right? 200 just for the Spire to begin with. I mean, that alone is already pretty expensive. Then 7 Mutants on top. I mean, in the end, they did pick off quite a few Ravagers and Roaches. They were part of the fight, and yes, okay, in the end, they probably did do a reasonable amount of damage, enough to justify the investment. But, I feel like if Serral was in a better position early, he probably could have punished the Mutas for not doing as much, right? And maybe Dark would have had to dive a bit harder for them, etc. Maybe Serral could hit some sort of a time with his +2 or so. A few different options. We'll see what happens in game number 2, though. Here on New Repugnancy as the map. Well, I mean, you've got these free high ground bases, which you probably don't usually take as a Zerg. Usually expand in a linear pattern, as Dark has already shown us. His third hatchery coming down. Actually, that is a third hatchery already down, while Serral just decided to start making a few Zerglings. Well before his Zergling speed as well, and the Baneling nest dropping down. So, I would say with these two already sitting in the main, he's really looking to hide the fact that he's making quite a few Zerglings. Even dropping an evolution chamber at the front of the wall and a Rotron. And I really feel like these structures are really trying to sell the idea of something that isn't actually happening. And he's kind of hoping that Dark comes forwards and scouts this. Because at the end of the day right now, I mean, as Overlord, if he scouts this, then Dark's probably going to be like, oh, you're going to Roaches? Well, I can be a little bit greedy. And you can see Dark's already being greedy by skipping his own Baneling nest. So he's probably assuming Serral's doing the same. Now Serral cancels the Rotron, gets a few more minerals going. This was never scouted by Dark, so at the end, doesn't kind of play off that mind game, but now he will see the Zerglings. Now Dark has to go into kind of panic mode. Finish off this wall off here, get the Queens as part of the wall as well. Maybe even a Spine Crawler, because at the moment his Roach Roaring still isn't done. He needs to get some Roaches up, and the Roach Roaring is part of the wall as well. If Serral can kill the Roach Roaring, that'd be really amazing. It won't go down before it's finished, but even if you only allow like 4 to 5 Roaches to come up initially and that's it, that could still be very good. There we go, 4 Roaches on the way out. The Roach Roaring half health, he backs away. He's got Banelings coming in as well. Looks like he will just bust the Roach Roaring, gets the Queen damage as well. Two Broodlings, they're actually going to kill a Baneling. And the Zergling's going to still try and brute force their way through these next couple of Queens. They're again very, very close. This one Zergling is holding the wall up, so as soon as the Baneling connects, the Lings are through, the Roaches pop out. Queen goes down. I mean, the Roaches are nice, but again, it's only these couple of Roaches. Oh, those couple of Banes are just going to have to bust down this Queen as well. Over in the main base then, some drones dropping down here. Serral is still down by 6 workers, so needs to do a bit more damage than what he's found so far. This is obviously where it starts getting out of control. And Dark, he cancelled his Zergling speed, so he doesn't even have Ling speed if he makes Zerglings here, which means that his Lings are going to be so ineffective. Serral's coming through looking for another kill / cancel on Evo Chamber. Another of these Roaches going down. In fact, the first of the Roaches that are going to go down here. And we're going to be seeing these slow Zerglings now coming in to try and help out. Serral has killed 18 drones at this point, up by 7 workers. Really starting to find pretty fantastic amounts of damage as extra Lings from Serral running across over to the left-hand side here. And looking to break through this wall off once again as he goes into the main for another drone. Make that 2. And Roaches are just running circles trying to catch up with these Zerglings. And as this Evo Chamber dies, there's more money down the drain. The Lings backed away, so actually gives Serral the chance to come in for a fight. The Lings from the high ground come in for the full surround. Makes it a really effective trade from Serral once again. I mean, it's just little things like that. Now he sees the chance to maybe surround those Roaches. Nope, decides not to. Back into the main base. Another Evo Chamber at the front. Serral has finally decided to start building drones of his own, as Dark is down to 9 drones left over. I mean, compared to 30 workers, that's obviously not a lot. He obviously can't hit any sort of Roach timing because he doesn't have a Roach Roaring anymore. So, I mean, he's really stuck on, like, slow Lings and the 3 Roaches that he has, which obviously is not really that much. Stack back down to the low ground, and Dark is yet again pulling those drones around back up to the main. I mean, all of this is just timed by those drones are not mining at all, not really being able to do anything. And it just gets worse and worse and worse here for Dark. Yeah, has a third hatcher, but again, if you don't have the money to then rebuild drones, what are you going to do? Loses another one just as he's able to rebuild one more. Finally, the Zerglings go down. Dark, with the kind of wall of damaged Evo Chambers left over, he kills one of them to open up a bit of a pathway, but I mean, what are you even going to try and do here? Serral making some Roaches, he's getting Carapace. Serral's plan at this point probably just to go Roaches and Zerglings and just go with the +1 Carapace to end this game pretty quickly, because let's face it, any sort of timing should be able to get the job done. And Dark, he's going to see the first Roaches starting to come across the map. In fact, as he sees those first Roaches starting to come across the map, he's going to type out GG, and Serral will tie up the series 1-1 with a little bit of a cheese here in game number 2 to tie this up. So Serral, a little bit cheesy, a little bit aggressive, okay. I'll be interested to see what happens going into the next couple of maps or so, to see if he's obviously, because obviously now guaranteed 4 maps at least, see if he's going to keep on being aggressive like this, or if he can, you know, find a little bit of confidence in the macro game to try and take Dark on. We'll find that out in a few moments' time. Game 3 coming up. Let's jump into it. Third game of the series, 1-1, tied up. To the top right-hand side, our blue Korean Zerg player, Dark, taking on the Finnish Lord himself, Serral. Pretty exciting ZvZ series, right? Full of Bane connections, Ling attacks. Intrigued to see what happens as we go into definitely the largest map we've played on so far in this series. I mean, you talk about Port Alexander, it's not that big. You know, especially then you go into New Republicancy, it's also not super huge. Compared to, say, like, Zero, King's Cove, and Automaton, these real kind of much more macro-focused maps that have much larger kind of natural-to-natural distance. Zero's the kind of map where you do expect, I feel, to see Mutalisks, right? It's such a large distance. I mean, you could argue it's close by air. It's not close by air. It's just the bases are probably closer by air than ground. It's still quite a large, quite a long way to run across. It's not easy to just say, okay, I'm going to go boom, and just ping across the map just like that. So yeah, definitely a larger map, and it's interesting to see what kind of comes of a larger map then, because we've already seen Dark trying to play some Mutalisks today. Whether that's just because he was in a lead and he figures it's a good way to close out the series or not, or close out the game or not, well, that remains to be seen, right? And that's what we're going to see on year 0. Dark is going to take the opportunity to go free hatch before pool once again. So again, just looking to get those slight little ledges on a map where, let's face it, Serral's unlikely to cheese on because of the size, and where Serral's not actually going to be able to scout this full while. So even if it's unlikely that Serral's going to respond with aggression, but there's a fair chance that Serral might want to respond with a little bit more greed of his own, skipping a couple of Zerglings, etc. And without that information, Serral will probably not be able to take those slightly greedier moves, and so we'll just end up that little bit further behind, not being able to respond. So Dark, very intrigued to see if we see those mutas again from him. From Serral, excited to see if he, what he does try and win a macro-focused game, right? Because, again, it's unlikely that this game's going to end short. And so far, we've seen him lose the longer game and win the shorter, cheesier game. So what will Serral bring out? Obviously, typically, Roach Ravager. And I would say Serral is just so good at that Roach Ravager army. As long as he doesn't get behind early, I think he's always going to be my personal favorite for any matchup, any sort of play he's playing against when it's Roach versus Roach. Because in those situations, he's just so good at controlling the corrosive bios, dodging, splitting, and re-engaging. Multitasking multiple fights as well if you go to a couple different locations. There are so many awesome ways to be able to kind of, utilize all of it. It's just awesome, actually. Like, honestly, the way in which someone like Serral controls his army, it's really kind of inspiring. It's why I actually really love ZvZ at the moment. Those Roach Ravager the control of Roach Ravager armies can be really, really exciting to kind of just lock into. So we'll see what Serral wants to go for. I'd be surprised if Serral mixed it up too much here and went for anything too crazy. Because again, I think as long as he gets into like a nice longer game, I think he'll feel pretty confident. Right now, you see that Baneling Nest dropping down on the natural. A few Zerglings on the way out. So while this is obviously a little bit of a chance to be aggressive for Serral, it's also a chance just to be safe and secure and make sure he's not skipping any corners to make sure he gets into that later game. But again, Dark is skipping all the corners. No Bane there, straight to a Roach Roar, and this is all stuff that Serral scouts now as he comes into the main. No Link Speed once again, so pretty similar to what we saw in game number 2. Of course, then Dark had a whole bunch of Zerglings arriving on his front doorstep and ruining his plans to just macro greedily up into Ling Roach. Well, Roach is on the way now. There's double Evo Chamber to help finish this wall, as well as a few Zerglings do come across the map, but they're also heading towards the third base, it felt like, for a moment. Now they are still going to head up here. Well, there's one drone right for the pick and absolutely nothing to defend on that third. And there's a couple Lings still running around the main base, so again, really good scout, and Serral will know everything that's going on from his opponent. Immediately reacts with a +1 missiles of his own. Never really morphed in any Banelings because, hey, you know what, there's no need to. My opponent doesn't have Ling Speed, he doesn't have, Banes just aren't going to do anything here, and even aggressively, what are you really going to connect onto? Maybe if he was able to hide a couple Lings in the base, wolf a couple Banes in and roll into a mineral line, sure, but with a couple Roaches coming out and wall at the front of the natural, you are not getting into any sort of super saturated mineral line with kind of outward bound Banelings. Nimtez Carapace is on the way here from Serral, so that's starting up on the third base. A couple of Zerglings from Dark just waddling forwards. And we do see the Lings of Serral jumping in and going to be able to clean those Lings up. So a couple of Lings getting taken down. There's Nimtez Carapace on the way up. Now Nimtez Carapace is interesting here for Serral. Obviously, it's just one way to get your overlords to have a bit more speed, and maybe you can pull them back if you're afraid of Mutalisks, etc. But it's also going to be that opportunity to maybe go into a Dropper Lord and drop a couple of Roaches around, and that's something that Serral is definitely never afraid to do, right? He is someone who will just say, okay, I can make one Overlord and just harass a little bit here and there. It's not so much an attack that's meant to do a lot, but it's an attack that really tests your opponent's multitasking. And it's an attack that can actually get out of control if your opponent's multitasking doesn't, sit up to standard, and it's very low commitment from Serral as well, because let's face it, Overlord speed's kind of nice to have. Now your Overlords are less likely to get corrosive biled down, and just in general, if we just come back, you can then reposition the Overlords as you see fit. Doesn't look as though we're going to see a Dropper Lord just yet, so it looks as though it's for the other reasons more so than that little drop potential that I talked about. And Serral going straight into +2 missiles. A little bit ahead of what Dark is on in terms of upgrades, but Dark will be on a faster +1 carapace, so slight differences here between the players. You'll see Serral now adding on a second Evo Chamber of his own. Looks as though he will also want to go into a +1 carapace upgrade here and really just try and match what Dark is investing into. So year 0 playing out as year 0 should play out, right? We're 6.5 minutes in game and we've seen 5 units lost on either side of the map. The only difference being one of them is a drone from Dark, and there's no drones lost from Serral, but one extra Zergling. Okay, there is a drop load, so we're going to see a little bit of something here. As more roaches are piling up, 66 drones is full free base saturation for the moment, so he is an optimal saturation for his bases, going up to a 4th, when it is the sort of point where you do want to build only roaches, right? Because there's no reason to have extra drones until that 4th base comes up. So both players have reached that point. Dark's actually just gone below it because he started up a Spore Crawler. I think he saw this drop load, so he wants something to be able to help push that Overlord away itself. And as Serral's Overseer flies through the right-hand side of the map, comes straight over this Queen, which will be able to turn and get some damage done as well. Overseer actually taking quite a little bit of damage. Another Overseer coming over to the right. That 4th base from Serral is going to finish shortly. It's a little bit ahead of Dark's, but I mean, there's a really minor differences. It's stuff like this, the Tunneling Claws and the Burrow upgrades, which I really think you look at here and you're like, okay, well, that's how Serral's going to try and make this year 0 map interesting. He's going to start burrowing roaches around, and like I was saying earlier, it's the exact kind of game that Serral wants to play. It's macro, it's moving a lot of units around the map in different ways. And on the other side, it's Dark with the Nidus network. So Dark's going to try and Nidus here. And obviously this is not any kind of all-in Nidus, but this is a, I'm going to Nidus here, Nidus there. That's how I'm going to take the map controllers. Ooh, Serral throws the Bals 2 of his own roaches down as he kills an Overlord. I mean, that's probably the most efficient Overlord I've ever seen, because usually Overlords don't kill anything. But that one definitely did. I mean, not intentionally, but it did. And Serral with a bit of a mistake, while this roach drop in the main is not able to unload just yet. Dark well prepared for it as he'll drop a Nidus network into the main base. Serral has already got a few lings on the third. He's picking up some drones, especially as the roaches hit the natural. Now he's setting up an attack on the low ground here. And, well, does sit in a couple of Bals, but it's only really one Ravager that gets hit, and it doesn't even go down. Now some of his own Bals go down, and he's killed 11 drones. My god, he's going to kill the roach drone. He dives up into the natural. Can he get the Evo Chamber as well? He is going to be able to kill the Nidus network, if he would like to. I mean, he's sitting on this ramp, and this position is amazing because Dark kind of has to push up here, but he's pushing into a concave. Up a ramp is never pretty. You can just see Serral absolutely taking advantage of that. Now Dark is able to get up. Now Serral's army will be surrounded as he has lost 22 drones. Dark. Serral's lost 13 as we do see a few of these roaches across the map finally cleaned up. The Nidus, as it goes down, well, the other side of the Nidus network was killed. So actually, those units will just die. For a roach, he doesn't realize he's just got nowhere to go. And so, again, the Nidus network shut down. No further aggression from Dark. And Serral is traded in such a way where he comes out a few works ahead, heavily ahead in army supply, though. And it just was a better fight, right? Just saw that opportunity to dive up into the natural. He killed the Roach Rowan as well, and that really slows Dark production down for a while. And Dark not being able to add in extra roaches meant he couldn't really reinforce against the army that was literally not even on his front doorstep. It was like in his front doorstep. Well, that is a nice corrosive battle on the drop load, though. And Serral has been making a couple of these mistakes lately where he's just left a couple of units behind, where I kind of feel like one of the things that was always so impressive about Serral was it just felt like he never made any of those little mistakes. But leaving that Overlord full of roaches behind there to be corrosive bad, obviously that is a bit of a mistake. And, you know, that's just one of the things where Serral has looked a little bit weaker perhaps this year in comparison to last year. But I mean, it's kind of crazy alone that we're having to talk about tiny little things like this when we're criticizing Serral, because that's all you can really find to criticize him for. The tiniest of mistakes, the very, the things which if someone else happened to say, oh man, that's unlucky, but hey, he stretched around the map. But yeah, Serral's stretched around the map as well, sure, but usually Serral deals with that extremely well and doesn't really seem to be bothered by it. So the only real reason we bring it up is, well, this Overlord actually cancelled from an Overseer morph to be able to survive. Another Dropper Lord coming in, so Serral replaces this. I mean, it has been very effective already. And just using it as a bit of a distraction, he tries to slide into position with this Roach Ravager. Trying to do something similar to before, kind of set up on the low ground. Interesting, he has a lot more Ravagers from Dark than there is for Serral. The Serral can get on top of the Ravagers. They will die very quickly, though, but he does have less corrosive files to try and dictate the positioning of the fight. Moving forward here, Serral doing pretty well so far. A couple more units coming down the left-hand side ramp from Dark, and Serral decides to start diving in towards those instead. And in fact, just leaves a few of his roaches up there to get those kills. Are pretty valuable, those couple of Ravagers that you can pick up, although he is going to be chased into a corner. And it looks like the rest of his army isn't exactly going to be able to do much to turn that around either. He's still pretty close over here, and again, if he can jump on those Ravagers, these are real valuable units. I mean, the Ravagers are 100 gas apiece, and that is so expensive. So targeting a few of those downs, definitely the best value we're going to get with those last few units. And Serral just rebuilds up once again and still just has that bit of an army supply lead. He's going to attempt to go in towards an infestation pit here, so moving up in towards Hive is the most likely choice. Obviously, Swarm Hosts don't see a lot of play. Infestors don't really see a lot of play in ZvZ, so Hive definitely looking to be what he wants to go for here. And getting into Hive can, of course, give him Vipers. It can also just give him access to the free upgrades, which would be nice as well. He's already actually a single upgrade ahead. He did get +2 Carapace, while Dark did not. And those are the little advantages that Serral has right now. As for the first time, we're actually going to see this Burrowed Roach play coming through into the natural expansion. So Burrowed Roaches from Serral straight into the natural, pops up and is going to be able to kill a Roach. He's going to be able to get a few drones as well. That's 5 already dead. And he's actually going to also be able to jump on that Queen. So Queen also going down. 7 workers killed here. And the rest of these Roaches up into the main base. And they are going to be able to go after a few more drones. Roaches and Ravagers still pressing forward here. Corrosive Bowels coming in on a couple of different sides. Serral's army is going to get a little bit surrounded, but he's going to use that as an opportunity just to decide which way he wants to attack. Jump into the left, and actually he had Roaches coming in from the far left, and so now this army on the top side from Dark is trapped. So a few units on this ramp is not obviously having a great time, but as soon as Dark moves up this ramp, the numbers are going to even out a little bit. I'm actually impressed Dark kept some of those Ravagers that were backed into the corner alive, and he is going to be able to turn Serral away into the center of the map now. So Serral pushed back through the top side, running all the way over to the left. And now with 5th base setting up, well, I mean, he's still looking pretty great, right? He's up 16 workers. It kind of feels like this push from Dark is almost getting to the point of being all in. Roaches and Ravagers in very good numbers pressing forward here. A couple of Corrosive Bowels. Do you turn those Roaches and Ravagers away? A couple of Overseers not able to get close either. Across the map, a couple of drones going down as Roaches are still over there. Obviously, Serral's 4th base in some trouble, but he does have the numbers to fight this, and just a matter of getting them in position. He is a little bit stuck on the ramp. He is going to move down with ease now, though, as it feels like Dark has used all of his Corrosive Bowels. So Dark, at the very least now, going to get pushed back. But it feels like he's just falling further and further behind. The supplies are just slipping away from him. And Serral actually going to get on top of these Roaches one more time to find even better trades. And, I mean, Dark's still trying to fight it as he runs away. Good little splits away from the Corrosive Bowels from Serral. Dark's actually just going to type GG. He still has Roaches harassing his mineral lines and all of that. Plus the fact he's losing this army, and I think he knows that Serral just has such a strong economy. Still has not lost any workers for what? Like, I mean, basically the entirety of the game even, right? I mean, it's crazy. It's crazy. I don't know what I've done here. I pressed the score screen. I meant to go back in game, so you guys are going to see me for a moment. This is awkward. You don't usually see this on YouTube. Well, let's go into the next game in just a quick moment. Okay, now that I am no longer in this awkward spot where I put myself on the webcam, I know that's not what you guys want to see. Yeah, just when you stream a lot, obviously it's kind of hard to get out the habits, and I do find myself a lot of the time going to like change the screen or so. I actually meant to go into the game and see if Serral did lose a drone in that game number 3, but instead I shut it off and I was like, whoa, I pressed score screen. Well, I better just put myself on webcam. Yeah, he would afford. Okay, well, let's jump into this guy's game number 4 to the bottom left-hand side. Our red Zerg player here on Automaton. Another fairly large map. Now, it's not large to the extremes of year 0, but it is still pretty sizable and pretty kind of liable to go into a macro game. Bottom left-hand side, our red Zerg player is Serral. I really just stopped doing this. I always start kind of saying little things during the intros, and I'm like, just get distracted on the intro, and it's like, I haven't actually introed the player. Silly of me. Anyways, to the bottom right-hand side, we are going to be seeing the blue Zerg. This is Dark. Alright, so hatch, gas, and spawning pool here from Dark and from Serral. So no free hatch before pool. Dark just gonna have to be that a little bit safer, because at this point you can't just lose the game because you go free hatch and Serral decided to 12 pool in this game, right? Like, that's just straight up very bad for you. Like, really, really bad for you. So that's something that Dark is not gonna go for here. Just gonna go for the more standard opening in these early stages. And of course, being mirrored so far means that we're waiting to see kind of what the difference is going to be between the two of them. Again, we saw Dark attempting that one game to go into mutas. Again, it's a fairly large map. It's another good opportunity to go into mutas here if you would like to. Again, Dark showed us that once. In general here, Dark is, apart from that first game, he's been trying to skip the Baneling nest and go straight into roaches. Obviously, it hasn't exactly, gone very well for him. Hasn't gone very well for him. But, yeah, we'll see if it's something he wants to do again. He does have link speed start. He is still mining gas. Let's see if he's just going to go into that bait nest again. I'd like to see him go into the bait nest because let's just face it. The one game he did go Ling Bane was extremely successful in comparison to the other games so far. So, I'd quite like to see that out of Dark, as we'll see a drone moving over to the third hatch. So, it definitely feels like he'll let Ling speed finish. You can't really justify defending the third hatchery this quickly without Ling speed. And Serral is going to be the first to once again just make a couple of Zerglings, while Dark adds on a couple extra drones. So a little bit of a difference between the two players so far, as we're going to be seeing the Baneling nest coming down on each side of the map. So Baneling nest on each side of the map. We're going to be seeing the hatcheries coming through, the Ling speeds coming in as well. I got a little lab bot one next here chilling underneath the Overlord. These guys just having a little bit of a chat. How's your day? Overlord's like, it just says like a bunch of Zergs nonsense, and the little lab bot's like, oh well. I mean, okay, didn't mean to be so mean. In seriousness though, this is heating up, because now Serral is actually ahead on drones and is still droning, while Dark is making quite a lot of Zerglings. So Dark looking to be aggressive here and is looking for some damage to make up for the fact that Serral definitely doesn't have quite what he wants. A few Banelings morphing in, that will help, as we see Banes and Dark though, so they're also going to be here. And Serral just not currently building. Oh my god, he's actually... Okay, builds a couple more drones. Dark actually built some more drones as well. I got myself mixed up on the production tab there for a moment. You see Lings and Banes coming over. Those Lings of Serral jumping on these morphing Banes. Good control so far, stopping anything from getting too out of hand. I like it. A couple of Queens here shutting down one of the Banes. A little bit of a Bane trade on the ramp as well. It feels like Serral has held this off without any real complications. Doesn't really lose anything. What he does lose is very insignificant to the larger portion of this game. And he's still up by 5 drones here, so little advantages for Serral so far. As Dark adds on 8 extra workers though, really working hard on that drone count. Just 2 links from Serral here, either potential for scouting or potential for Banelings. Might even just go for the 1 drone kill here on the third base, definitely a possibility. Still Lings and Banes dancing around on the bottom side of the map. There's those Lings. They got a drone low, but then they actually decided to swap onto the Queen, probably just not being controlled as Serral. A bit more preoccupied with the fact that there's Ling Bane on his front doorstep that could completely turn this game around if it's not dealt with correctly. So Serral just a bit too preoccupied to control 2 Zerglings across the map, as Dark will be the first to, will not be the first, but will place down the Rotron here. So he will go Rotron. We will see an Evo Chamber being added on as well. Serral's already got the Rotron. It's a real fast Rotron, and he's going to be aggressive. So I actually thought he was building an Evo Chamber here, but he cancelled that. He really just wants to go for a big Roachling attack. But I'm not too sure if he's really going to be able to be that successful. Dark has a few Lings and Banes on the map still, and he might be able to pull these Roaches back and delay them. With that little bit of Ling Bane, buying himself time to get his Roaches up and running and collected in the same position. Looks like he will not do that, although he will kill the first few Zerglings with a Baneling. I mean, this is meant to be a Roach-Ling attack, right? The Lings are meant to get in front of those Roaches and to buy some time and defend the Roaches in general. Lings over here now counterattacking will get a Roach as well. And so in general, Serral is just not doing that great now, and Dark is buying himself a little bit of time as Serral actually turns around with these Roaches for a moment. And suddenly, Serral is, what, 4 or 5 army supply ahead? That's not a lot. That's not a lot at all, and it feels like Serral's attacking into a position where Dark just has way too much. Dark a +1 missile start as well. That's another advantage he'll hold. Now this isn't untransitionable for Serral. He is only 4 workers behind, but he would be very far behind on the +1. He's going to be seeing those Banes crashing in, getting some good initial damage done. Obviously, the Lings have to hold back until that point. He's already getting a nice little choke point here of the Spine Crawl and the Baneland Nest, and there is just no way Serral wins this fight. No way on earth, and he already knows it. 15 seconds ago, he started up +1 missiles. A lair on the way as well, and begin to build extra drones. He will try and maybe get a few drones now with the Zerglings. Just trying to do something to help him out in this game. Gets a Queen as well. Very smooth from the drones to the Queen. And now down through to the center of the map. Evo Chamber starting up from Serral in the main base. Lings running around on the right-hand side here. Still an Overlord just sat up in the skies. Bit of a Spine Crawler from Dark burrowing in the front. Roaches and Lings just sitting forwards as well. And we are going to be seeing an Extractor coming up on the third base. Couple corrosive barrels dropping down. Overlord will be sniped here. So Overlord gets sniped. A couple more Extractors coming into play. +1 missile attack upgrade coming through as well from both sides. Serral even going to go into a Carapace upgrade. Well, it's real interesting to see what the lairs bring us. Is it just Roach Speed and Roach Ravager, or is someone going to throw a bit of a curveball? All said and done, Serral's on an equal worker count with Dark. He is started +1 Carapace and Roach Speed, so he's a little bit ahead there as well. I actually think it's okay for Serral, all said and done. I mean, you can kind of see, yeah, he lost a few roaches, but he killed some roaches too. I think the big thing is that the economy was never too far in favor of Dark. Serral had income advantages earlier, and so when he did go for his own attack, he actually didn't really kind of fall too far. You know, he fell behind, but not for too long, right? And so overall, with good trades, Serral's actually coming out of this a little bit ahead on supply. Now, ahead on supply might just be because he is currently making more roaches, while Dark is throwing down a Spire. And so it looks like Dark's going to try and go back into Middlers once again. Now, this happened in game number 1, a game which kind of felt like the meters didn't do a lot, and that the game was kind of very decided before we really kind of saw the meters coming onto the map anyways. So really intrigued to see how Dark can utilize these here now in game number 4. Especially when he's 1 down in the series, and if Serral wins this game, of course he walks away with the series victory and advances through the tournament. Few Overlords going to be popping here in a moment or so, +2 missiles, +1 Carapace. On the way out, this Queen poking away at that Overseer. And we see it getting pushed out, and a couple corrosive bars try to intercept it. Good idea from Serral, but obviously doesn't quite work out. Serral's got a ton of Zerglings. I mean, I was just watching these before, but I mean, it's just really hit me just how many Zerglings this actually is. Like, that's a lot of Zerglings. To do what with? Run by? Is that the plan? Well, the Mutalisk's on the way up. Dark does have a faster +2 missiles. He's already, by the way, building Baneland speed. So we saw in the first game he did go into a lot of Banes and crashed into a ton of Roaches. Let's see if Serral's only going to build Roaches this time, or if he's maybe going to go into a few Hydras to try and help out against the Mutalisks. You either go Hydras or you just add on extra Queens and maybe an Infestor or two. There's a couple different ways, and especially that depends how you want to play it. I mean, the Hydras are good if you want to try and then be able to be aggressive yourself or so. As you see, these meters are going to be able to pick off that Overlord. So obviously Serral knows, and he is getting a Hydraless Den. So he's getting the Hydras up. You'll have that mobile anti-air. Be able to deal with these meters a little bit fairly easily. Well, let's see what the meters can do. We still have so many Zerglings just out on this map doing absolutely nothing at all. Meters diving in. Roaches and Ravagers taking some shots already. A Spore Crawler beneath this Overlord going to finish up. Tons more Zerglings on the way out as we do see these Mutalisks just going to jump on towards the hatchery. So Hatch taking some damage here. And that meter of Dark just going to go after the Overlord. +1 Carapace on the way up. Actually, Serral does lose a couple drones to those Mutalisks. I mean, obviously at this point, it's kind of a bit of a waiting game, getting into those Hydras, etc. But Dark doesn't want to play a waiting game. He wants to attack. He's got Baneland speed, right? He wants to make use of that. And this time we're going to see the 35 Banelings. The same as what we saw in game number 1, funnily enough. 35 Banelings going to try and crash towards you. And if they can connect on the Hydras and take out that anti-air, well, this could be a very fun time for the Mutas. However, some Lings over here from Serral. I love it, man. How do you see these Banes when you're prepared for an attack? Those Lings do not run into them. Now the Lings actually look like they might come in from the top side. That or they're looping around for a different attack on one of the bases. I don't know if they're really going to do much in this army fight. So here we go. Banes start rolling in, and Serral's Hydralist. Oh my god! Split it up into that absolute huge concave. What a fight from Serral. He gives up the 4th phase, sure, but he's going to keep his Hydras alive. The Banes just did connect. What a split that was, as now he's got Zerglings in all of the mineral lines of Dark as well, and so he's going to start dealing damage while absolutely crushing the fight. What a split on those Hydras, though. I mean, the Banes rolling in and the Hydras just going literally about 8 different directions to split away and to minimize any damage, any losses. The fact that Serral turned this into like a huge 360 concave too. Okay, he lost the 4th base, but man, for the fight that he got, losing the 4th base was absolutely worthwhile. And Serral pressing forwards here. Obviously, he has Hydras in the army as well, so they've got a good little bit of damage they can add in. And it means he can also fight against the mutas on the Dark side of the map. Roaches, Ravagers, and Hydras still sitting here as Dark will actually be able to start pushing his way back through this, and maybe Serral's dove in just a little bit too soon, but at the same time, it's keeping the army busy while these Zerglings get to work. This is now 12 workers killed from this Ling attack as they go diving into the main. That's not minding at all. There's a lot of drones that are just transferring between bases at the moment. I mean, the thing is, right, Serral in the end just has probably the chance to go into a better, stronger army again. See, this income's gone massively into Serral's favor. It was in Dark's favor for a little while. You see that Serral definitely lost a lot more in that fight than what Dark did. But look how much Dark lost in that previous fight as well. Like, that's insane. That dip of where he just engages and loses so much, and Serral barely loses anything. That's very, very impressive. Serral's Roach Ravager Hydra back up to the top side. A few mutas dealing some damage. Splitting up Roach and Ravagers. Want to come in from the right hand side. Not going to be able to just yet though. Serral drops a few more corrosive files. Actually, again kills a couple of his own Roaches. Needs to be a bit more careful about that. He still has an army supply lead going into this next little fight here. Roaches and Ravagers from Dark actually having to pull backwards. The thing is, Dark has so many Ravagers, but so few Roaches. If this Roach front line goes down, those Ravagers are going to absolutely melt, and this is going to cascade in favor of Serral. A couple of corrosive files get pulled away from at the last possible moment. Serral so good at that, knows in his head the exact time is when he can pull away, when he can get one extra shot off before he needs to back away from this. You can just see right now that Dark is, well, he's holding on, but again, the supply is slipping away from him because Serral is just getting more and more. He's trading better and better, and he's mining with more, so he's rebuilding with more. And now he's actually going to be through on top of those Ravagers, and look how fast they fall. Will not chase too far in because of the corrosive files, but him just chipping away 3 or 4 Ravagers from the overall army here is fantastic. Kills the 4th base as well, up to see his own 4th base is back up and running. So now Serral will be taking the economic advantage, not just in the worker count, but in the base count as well. And Dark is really in a tough little spot right now, and Extractor gets picked up here. Serral's going to attack once again, no slowing down, no rest for the wicked. Serral did play pretty wicked in this series, didn't he? For lack of a better word. Turned it around from a 1-0 deficit and wins 3 in a row in pretty different games, right? Games where he was a huge aggressor, where it was a much more kind of just macro roach only game, and then also this third game, or this fourth game, sorry, or the third game that he won, where he had to deal with the Mutalisks and so on, and deal with another aggressive attempt from Dark. GG's. Serral takes a 3-1 over Dark in the WESG Grand Finals, round of 8. If you guys did enjoy the video, don't forget to like it. Don't forget to comment down below and let me know which other matches or players you'd like to see games from that were in WESG or so. Next upload is probably going to be another WSG on Saturday. We've also got the Katowice after party uploads coming up on the channel, so keep your eyes on all of those. Check it out, and thank you so much for tuning in today, guys. Much love as always, and I hope